She said it halfway through pad thai. I need a break. No tremble. No warning. Just those 4 words delivered as casually as if she were commenting on the weather. I didn't speak right away. I set my fork down, wiped my mouth with a napkin, looked at her, really looked. 5 years together. 3 of them living under the same roof. A house I bought, a life I built, and she's ending it over takeout. My name is Noah. I'm 37. IT specialist. I live in a quiet part of Denver and I don't do drama. So I didn't ask questions. I didn't cry. I didn't shout. I just said, so pack your things. That's when her mask cracked. Her brows lifted. She blinked. She wasn't expecting that. You're not even going to talk about it, she asked, voice rising slightly. No, I said. You're the one who wants out. I won't stop you. She tried to explain. Said she was confused, overwhelmed, needed space to think. But I'd heard enough. I stood up, walked to the door, held it open. You said what you needed to say, I told her. Now go. She moved slowly, like she was waiting for me to change my mind. I didn't. She left with a bag and her car keys. I watched her taillights vanish down the street. Then I locked the door. No texts. No calls. No posts. Just silence. Inside, the Thai food went cold. I poured a glass of water and sat down to finish dinner. Alone, but not broken. She thought I'd chase her. That was clear from the first text, which came at 11:42 p.m., barely 4 hours after she walked out. Can we talk? I didn't respond. Because when someone says they need space, the worst thing you can do is fill it for them. Alina always underestimated me. She thought quiet meant passive. That calm meant weak. That silence was surrender. She didn't realize silence was preparation. The next morning, I brewed coffee like I always did. Same mug. Same routine. No flinching. I walked past the closet where her coats used to hang. Past the sink where her hair ties used to collect. The absence wasn't loud. It was peaceful. I showered. Got dressed. Drove to work like it was any other Thursday. When my coworker Mike asked about weekend plans, I just said, probably catching up on sleep. That night, she tried again. Are you okay? I left the message unread. Then, at 2:18 a.m., the call came in. I watched her name flash across the screen, pulsing like a slow heartbeat. I let it ring. Let it die. She wanted a break. She got one. And I was done performing for people who thought love was a game of pulling back just to be chased. That's not who I am. That's not who I've ever been. While she scrolled her options, weighed her urges, tested her freedom, I was building clarity. Brick by brick. The silence didn't echo. It settled. There's a difference between loneliness and peace. Most people don't know it until they've had both. That first weekend without her? I woke up early, made eggs, cleaned the garage, rewired the home office setup I'd been putting off for months. It was quiet, yes, but not hollow. Her side of the bed stayed untouched. Not out of grief, out of discipline. I wasn't mourning. I was adjusting. Alina had always filled rooms with movement. Phone calls. Music. High-volume social energy that wore me out more than I admitted. Without her, the house exhaled. And so did I. I took long walks at night. I started cooking for one without overthinking it. I read again. Sat on the deck with a glass of bourbon and let the stillness work on me. No pity. No panic. Just recalibration. I didn't post anything. Didn't tell anyone what happened. Let her run the narrative if she wanted it that badly. I wasn't about to compete for airtime. On Monday, Mike at work asked if Alina was feeling better. I blinked. Apparently, she told people we were taking time apart to heal. No. She was taking time to explore. I was just living. I didn't defend myself. Didn't correct him. Just smiled and said, yeah. Something like that. Because if people need a story, they'll make one. I was busy making plans. You don't have to announce a breakup. People can smell it. At work, the subtle glances started first. Then the shift in tone, like people were suddenly cautious around me. Like I might break. But I didn't. I kept delivering code ahead of schedule. Clean, airtight builds. No errors. No distractions. Just execution. By Friday, Beth from HR asked if everything was okay at home in that careful tone people use when they already know the answer. It's fine, I said, sipping my coffee. But outside the office, the whispers started building. At our regular grocery store, the cashier who always asked about Alina's yoga classes went quiet. At the cafe near the park, the barista who knew her order, oat milk, extra cinnamon, gave me a look that lingered half a second too long. It was spreading. The news. Even though I hadn't said a word. And still, I didn't speak. Let them wonder. She, on the other hand, wasn't quiet. Her Instagram was busier than usual. New places, new faces, new drinks held in manicured fingers with captions about freedom and self-growth. People think I didn't notice. I did. She tagged restaurants we never went to, wore clothes I'd never seen, laughed into phones held by someone just out of frame. I didn't double tap. I didn't scroll too far. Just enough to know the truth. This break wasn't about healing. It was about auditioning. But I didn't feel jealous. I felt lucky. It was Mike who said it first. We were walking back from lunch, paper cups in hand, talking about nothing when he paused and asked, "You seen Alina's stories lately?" I shook my head. He hesitated. "She's not exactly grieving." That night I checked. Not out of weakness, out of curiosity. Dinner with some guy at a rooftop bar downtown. 2 nights later, wine tasting with another, different wristwatch, different hand. Sunday brunch, selfies, always angled just enough to leave the man's face out, but not the intent. I didn't feel pain. I felt confirmation. She hadn't needed space. She needed coverage. The break was her version of a social airbag, cushioning her in case the new guys didn't stick. A test drive in all directions with me waiting as backup. But I don't play bench roles. The more I saw, the clearer things became. The conversations she used to rush off to. The sudden work events. The new obsession with me time. It had all been leading here. She wasn't overwhelmed. She was preparing her exit long before she said it. I didn't confront her. I didn't send screenshots or ask questions. I just removed the last of her belongings from the bathroom drawer and boxed them neatly in the garage. She wanted freedom. Now she had it, no strings, no key, no return policy. There's a moment, quiet, barely noticeable, when you stop seeing yourself as the one left behind. That moment hit me on a Tuesday. I was walking through a hardware store, picking up grout sealant for the upstairs shower. Some random task she used to nag me about. Now it was just mine. I wasn't rushing. No texts waiting. No one asking where I was or when I'd be back. The silence didn't weigh anything anymore. It moved with me. That's when I realized I didn't lose a thing. I was free. No more managing her moods. No more performance arguments where I had to read between every line of passive aggression. No more pretending I didn't notice the lies in her voice when she said, "Girls' night." I didn't lose her. I lost the version of me that tolerated her. And once that realization settled, so did something else. Clarity. I started sleeping better. My workouts got consistent again. The tension in my jaw, the one I didn't even know I carried, was gone. Even my friends noticed. "You seem different, man," Mike said at work. Lighter. I just smiled. Because the truth is, I'd been dragging her weight for years. Holding a relationship together that only looked stable from the outside. She didn't break me. She freed me from a lie I was too patient to end myself. And I planned to use that freedom well. I didn't follow her. But I didn't have to. People made sure I saw what she was doing. "Hey, saw Alina's post. She's in Napa? Didn't know you guys split up. She's really out there." Even my neighbor's wife brought it up, standing on her porch like she was ordering gossip from a menu. "She looks happy, at least." I nodded, said nothing. Alina had turned her Instagram into a stage. Day trips with men whose names rotated weekly. Late-night drinks in hotel lounges, always with the same caption, "Finding myself." Slowly, beautifully. The irony? She looked desperate. Not glowing. Not reborn. Just curated. Because deep down, she knew I wasn't watching. And it was driving her crazy. The likes didn't satisfy her. The heart reacts. The comments from girls saying, "Yas queen." They weren't enough. Because the one person who used to admire her quietly, without needing a selfie to prove it, had gone quiet. She expected me to fight, to call, to ask who he was, who they all were. Instead, I cleaned out the attic, painted the downstairs hallway, and smiled, a lot more than I used to. She was performing for a man who no longer sat in the audience. And even her applause was starting to sound hollow. Came on a Thursday night. "Hey, can we meet? Just to talk. No emojis. No fluff. That told me two things. The fantasy was cracking, and she still thought she had a shot. I said yes. Not because I wanted closure, I already had that. I just wanted to see what kind of story she'd tell now that her stage was empty. We met in the park near the old bookstore, where we used to walk after dinner. She arrived 10 minutes late, dressed like she'd planned the outfit twice. Nervous, lipstick perfect, but eyes scattered. "Thanks for coming," she said. I nodded. For a moment, she just looked at me, probably expecting some warmth or regret, but I gave her nothing. "I've just been doing a lot of thinking," she started, "about everything. I wasn't in a good place when I said I needed space." I let her talk. She circled around cliches, words like growth, healing, fear. She said she wasn't with anyone now, though I didn't ask. She said she missed me, missed what we had. Then she tried to reach for my hand. That's when I spoke. "You don't miss me," I said quietly. "You miss what I gave you, and what I let you take without question." Her hand froze. "You wanted a break," I added. "What you got was a mirror. And now you're here because the reflection's not flattering anymore." She blinked, stunned. "I don't hate you," I said. "I just don't need you." I stood up. She stayed seated. Her mouth moved, but no words came. I left her there, in the place where we once dreamed, and she'd just been dismissed from the only role she ever cared about. Main character. I wasn't looking for him. He found me. Ryan, tall, overdressed, hair too perfect. Showed up at my gym on a Tuesday. Waited outside, arms crossed, like he had something to prove. "You're Noah, right?" I didn't answer. He looked nervous. I was seeing Alina," he said. I didn't flinch, just stared. "She told me you two were over. Said it ended months ago, that you were toxic, controlling, that you didn't believe in her work." I almost laughed. Alina never had a job longer than 6 months. Her work was waiting for someone else to pay her rent. "I found out you were still living together when she and I were involved," Ryan said, shame finally catching up to him. "That didn't sit right. Then I saw her with someone else last week." I raised an eyebrow. "You thought you were the only one?" He didn't answer. "She lied to both of us," he admitted. I broke it off. "Just thought you should know. She's not who she says she is." I nodded. "I know." He hesitated. "You're calm." "I've already buried the version of me who cared," I said. "You're talking to the man who came after him." Ryan left after that, quick and quiet. I watched him walk away. Another ghost exiting a story Alina thought she controlled. But she didn't understand. Men talk too. We compare notes. And her lies? They're collecting interest. It didn't take long after Ryan disappeared. Her stories got quieter. The fake smiles turned brittle. The photos stopped featuring other hands, other drinks, other shadows. Then came the posts about focusing on self-care and choosing peace, which in her language meant no one's answering anymore. I knew the signs. I'd seen them before. The cycle of her social life. Perform, discard, replace. Except this time, the replacements stopped showing up. And that's when she remembered me, the stable one, the fallback. But the door she once walked through so carelessly was no longer there. I had remodeled the house, repainted the walls, donated her leftover clothes without a second thought. She texted again. "Can we please talk?" Then came the calls. Voicemails laced with apology, nostalgia, confusion. She couldn't believe how fast people forget you when you're not useful. I didn't respond. I was busy rebuilding. Not just the house, but my time, my focus, my mind. She showed up once, unannounced. I watched her through the peephole, pacing, rehearsing something in her head. She knocked, waited, knocked again. I didn't open the door. She didn't understand. The silence she once weaponized had been mastered by me. Now she was on the other side of it, and it was eating her alive. She tried everything. A letter in my mailbox, handwritten, dramatic, for pages about memories, apologies, dreams we once had. It ended with a single question. "Can we start over?" 2 days later, she sent flowers to my office. My assistant handed them to me without a word. I read the card once, then dropped it in the shredder. Then came the visit. Saturday afternoon. I opened the garage and there she was, standing beside her car, eyes swollen from crying. Noah, please. I let her speak, not because I cared, because I wanted to hear how she'd try to twist it. I made mistakes. I was scared. I thought you didn't love me anymore. You thought I'd wait. I corrected. She blinked. I was supposed to stay still while you explored. I continued. You wanted to keep me on the shelf, in case your adventure didn't pan out. No, Yes, I said, calm, cold, controlled. That's exactly what this was. And now you're here because the fun dried up. Tears slid down her cheeks. I still love you. I met her eyes, steady and unblinking. I don't care. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. I'm not angry, I said. You don't matter enough for that. Then I stepped back inside and closed the door. Not with rage. Not with pain. With finality. The first thing I did? Ripped out the kitchen backsplash she picked. Tile by tile. Not because it was ugly. Because it was hers. Her taste. Her choice. Her fingerprints on something that no longer belonged to her. I replaced it with clean matte black tile, sharp lines, no gloss. Like me now, clear, quiet, and unapologetic. My house started becoming my own again. The wine glasses she never used? Gone. The stack of books she pretended to read for show? Donated. I rearranged the furniture. Replaced the throw pillows. Moved her photos to a hard drive I'd probably never open. And with every change, something in me stitched itself tighter. Even at work, people noticed. You've been sharp lately, my boss said. Focused. Confident. Because I was. Turns out living for someone else for 5 years had dulled me. Her chaos, her flattery, her lies, they'd taken inches off my edge. Yeah? The blade was back. I took on new projects. Said no more often. Ate better. Slept deeper. I wasn't trying to prove anything. I was just done living in a story where I played support to someone else's drama. And without her noise in the background, the silence didn't scare me. It inspired me. I didn't check on her. But the world has a way of reporting back to you quietly without asking. It was Beth from accounting who let it slip. Did you hear about Alina? Got let go from her job, something about too many no-shows. Shame. I just nodded. Later that week, a friend of hers, more of an accessory, really messaged me on LinkedIn of all places. Not sure what happened between you two, but she's not doing well. Just thought you should know. I didn't respond. Because I wasn't responsible for cleaning up the wreckage she made of her own choices. She lost her job. Moved in with a friend. The Instagram posts thinned out, then stopped altogether. Her life, once loud, curated, desperate for attention, fell quiet. But not the kind of quiet I had built for myself. Hers was the silence of someone who thought the party would never end. I saw her once. At the pharmacy, of all places. She looked smaller. Makeup faded. Eyes searching the shelves like they were holding her together. She didn't see me. And I didn't speak. Because closure isn't a conversation. It's a life lived better. She was fading. I was thriving. And she knew it whether she admitted it or not. She came one last time. Showed up at my door like a ghost that refused to stay buried. This time, no makeup. No drama. Just a hoodie, tired eyes, and the weight of consequences finally catching up to her. I just want to talk, she said. I didn't move. Just stood in the doorway, blocking the light, arms crossed. I miss you, she whispered. You miss who I was, I corrected. She looked down. I made mistakes. You made decisions. Silence. I wasn't ready. I didn't know what I wanted it. You did, I said flatly. You wanted options. And I was plan B. She flinched. Then reached out, one final reach. Can we just start over? Please. That was the moment. The moment every man either caves or closes the book. I met her eyes, calm as ever. No, I said. This is the end. And it is final. She froze. No screams. No tears. Just the slow understanding that she had burned the bridge too thoroughly to ever crawl back over it. I shut the door. Not in anger. In peace. Because I had nothing left to give her. And she had nothing left to take. Weeks passed. No more messages. No more knocks. Just the quiet aftermath of a storm she thought she'd control. I remodeled the office. Got rid of the last couch she picked too soft, always sagged in the middle. Bought a leather one. Sharp edges. Clean seams. Like everything else in my life now. At work, they offered me a leadership role. I took it. Started mentoring again. Spoke less, but when I did, people listened. Even my mother noticed. You look settled, she said during a Sunday call. Like yourself again. That's because I was. I booked a flight to Lisbon. A trip I'd postponed 3 times because she didn't like foreign food or strange places. Turns out I love both. The morning I left, I walked past the mailbox and found a final envelope addressed to me. No return name, but the handwriting was familiar. Inside was a letter, short, scattered, desperate. I thought you'd wait for me. I thought I could come back. But I guess you finally meant what you said. No signature. Just space where her name used to belong. I folded it once and dropped it in the trash. Not with bitterness. With clarity. Because I wasn't angry anymore. She taught me what I'll never accept again. And I taught her what it means to lose someone who never begged, never yelled, just disappeared.